Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's January 12th, 2020, and something that's really long overdue. One of the things we did recently, Thea and I went over into the barn and dug out an old photo album. We found one of some of the house construction. So today's video is going to be about the construction of our passive solar home and the chimneys that are constructed inside of it, the super insulation, the vapor barriers, the water barriers, the extent that we went through to get everything done here in the house. So today I'm shooting some of this video with the Sky DO2. It's an artificially driven drone that's following me. I'm using my beacon, which is like Harry Potter's wand, to control it. And right now it's just going to follow me down around the property. And so I'm walking down the driveway. I just picked up the mail 350 feet away from the garage entrance. And this is in case you haven't seen this video before, seen the buildings at this point. We're going to go back into the 80s. We're going back about 4 decades and looking at the buildings that we built, the order that we built them. There's just be a little bit of an introduction to the other buildings, but what we're going to go over in this video is the passive solar construction of this very rustic post and beam building that at that time it was designed by my brother, who is an engineer, David Wallace. He's retired now, but at that time he was going through school and getting his master's degree. And not only did he work for a couple of years coming out on his vacations and his days off helping me build this building, but he also designed the thermal efficiency, utilizing the rustic look, the materials, the post and beam structure that we wanted to use. So this is just a little bit of a bird's eye view of the house from the southern side. The southern side of the house has all the windows exposed. The west, you can see there's just 2 windows. Here we're coming around the south side. You've seen the gardens before around here. And you can see the garage on the left side of the screen there, the mudroom in between the 2 buildings and the house, and look at the size of the maple tree that's there now, and you'll see when we built the house just how big that maple tree was initially. There's some things that I would do differently, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in this video. There's the first barn and the riding arena, both of which have been rebuilt since then. So here we go. So in 1976, I had a mobile home on 1 acre of land with a well and septic system at the top of the property. And once Thea and I got together, she came with horses and dogs, and she lived the next road over. And so one of the great first priorities after acquiring much more property, acre by acre on this land, we decided to clear the land and be able to put up a pole barn which could house the horses. And we had dreams of starting a breeding farm for horses as well. So we ended up constructing this pole barn in 1981. And it took us a full year to get this pole barn up. I put chain link fencing around it for have the dogs being able to be in this area. We still were living in the mobile home at this point. We ran an electric cord going from the mobile home to power the power to the barn at first. And you can see the old Massey Harris row crop front tires on it there, which was my first tractor and all. So that worked out. So in 1981, the first building we built was this 34 by 50 pole barn, which ended up turning into our office later on and workshop area. Then in 1982, we needed a place to house all of our tools. The porta-camp that I was keeping all the tools in wasn't large enough. And we needed to build a garage down here so we could get a transformer down here, get power to the garage, and then put an underground power supply to the barn so we could have our full electrical service. So this was the second building we put up in 1982, and it is just a stick frame 2x4 construction. This had a 412 pitch roof on it, trusses that we got. That's what was recommended by the engineers, and this building worked out pretty darn well. Here's a side view after getting the T111, the textured 111 side walls stained, and you can see on the right side here, you can see part of the riding arena, the workshop that's back there right now. And here's Optimus Prime sitting inside of the arena. The arena we built in 1983. This was also a pole barn construction. And this way we'd be able to give the horses run-ins, so the horses that we were raising could come into parts of the building, and we could work the horses during the winter months in this small arena area as well. In 1984, we went ahead, excavated out the area of the foundation where the house was going, and ran some conduit to run some conduit underneath the footer where the block walls would end up going for the house. So we have an 8-inch footer by 24 inches wide. My brother Dave was heavily involved. He's the one who engineered and designed the passive solar home that we're building at this point. So this is back in 1984, and we're laying the blocks here at this point. You can see part of the footer that's going to be the separation between the living room part of the house and the large thermal mass. We're working in the large thermal mass area right now. Here's the footer that goes across. This is an area where the chimney will go up eventually, and this is an entrance area here to a plenum that is going to be a crawl space. It'll make more sense. Here are the electrical conduits to supply power to the house. Chimneys are over on the left side of the screen, and here's a water supply coming up through the thermal mass area and into the house. So in the front yard, you can see I had cleared area where we had the horse pastures up front, up there, and laying the blocks here. More blocks laying on. Now, one of the mistakes I did make, we didn't scrape off the sod in the area where the living room is now. So we just laid blocks on there. If I were to do this again, I definitely would scrape off all of the topsoil and make sure that just gravel and rocks got refilled into that area. Here my brother and I are working here. He came up and spent a whole vacation, maybe 2 weeks long, us getting the footer in and the block walls up, and getting the basement part of this structure all set. And he worked with me over the next couple of years getting this stuff set. So here we are. We've got the electrical service coming into the house. I have other services going out of the house as well as data. So power and data coming in here. Here's the area where the utility basement is, and where the chimney will be on the left side of the screen as well. Here we are laying more blocks. Now what I've done over here, so on the outside of the blocks wall here, we used a sealant. There's much better materials nowadays, but this is like a tar surface. And then we put plastic up against the tar as well to help maintain a water and vapor barrier between the outside world and the thermal mass and the area that will be working, the living room. So this will all be insulated, and it's insulated on the surface of the ground here. So we backfilled this area. You can see here's the base of the chimneys here. So I've already built up the base of the 3 different chimneys, which will make sense in a moment. And we've gone ahead and put a vapor barrier down on top of the soil. We put down 1-inch polystyrene, and then we put the concrete reinforcing wire and rebar down in here as well. So here we are, and you can see I put insulation around the perimeters between the block wall and the block. I put vapor barrier, then insulation, keeping the concrete from the block wall. And you may be able to see some of the plastic down there holding up. Then now we're over into the area where the thermal mass is. So there's insulation on the bottom, there's insulation on the inside, and there's vapor barrier on the inside and vapor barrier on the outside as well. So there's 3 layers of vapor barrier, 2 on the outside, plus there's the tar surface on the outside of the building as well, and the perimeter drain. And on the inside, a vapor barrier and duct taped insulation, 1-inch insulation on the inside and on the bottom. and the washed stone is put in here. The air will move through it. This is the plenum that I built out of steel and painted it, and on the outside of the plenum is a stainless steel mat that goes up against the reinforced steel of the plenum. This isn't a plenum that I work in. The air will flow through the rocks going from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen and come up through. This is a floor vent here, and this is a secondary vent that goes up to the second floor. Here's the other side, the vent going up to the second floor, the two floor vents here that come up into the first floor of the house. And you can see the concrete has been poured over here. Here are the three chimneys. There's a chimney clean out. The center one is the one that goes to the wood stove, and the clean out is at the base, and both of these chimneys are open at the base. The air is forced from those two outer chimneys down across the floor here into this plenum, which is a crawl space. The plumbing goes through this area here, and then the air infiltrates through the thermal mass of the stone and then goes to the other side, the other plenum here, another area of the crawl space. If I were to do this again, I would make the crawl space deeper and wider. So we have the plumbing in here. As you get older, it gets tougher to get down into these smaller spaces. Here's some of the vapor barrier and the rebar from the concrete that's in the living room area, the 1/3 of the house to the side. And on the right side, sorry about these photos, there's lots of, these are old photos that we didn't take great care of. And I'm out here spreading out the rocks. Ignore my shorts there, trying to get the thermal mass out. This is a water line that's coming up into an area of the house here as well. There is a drain system that goes in. I didn't get pictures of everything, but and here I am, Thea's taking a picture of me, so I pulled my hat down. You'll see lots of lumber stacked in different places outside as I'm using it, and I'll go over that in a moment. Now here's the plenum with the ductwork that's going up to the second floor. So there's two of these ducts that go up to the second floor from this plenum, and there's a couple of ducts that go up to the second floor from the other plenum. And you see how the vapor barriers completely envelop the block walls. Two layers on the outside plus the what was considered a concrete sealant back in that day. The other thing I would say I forgot to mention is we use Durawall. That's wire steel, galvanized steel reinforcement between each layer of the blocks. Typically, contractors use them, I think, about every 8 or 10 rows of concrete. I use them for every single row. Here's some of the lumber I'm getting ready here. You can see. So all of the long beams, all of the posts, beams, and whalers, all of those wood materials were stored within the barns. So it took a year for them to get to air moisture. So they got a lot of the moisture out of them that had acquired throughout the years of them growing, and we got them dried. They weren't kiln dried. And here are some of the boards that will be used for the side walls and floors. And these are all 5/4 by 6, mostly 5/4 by 6 boards. And we kept them covered, but when it's nice weather, we uncover them, let them air dry as much as possible. Here I am assembling some of the posts and beams. So this is a base post that's over here. This is a 6x6. These are 6x6 vertical posts as well. This is a 6x8 whaler. This is up 8 foot tall, and this is a corner wall. So this is one of the east walls over here. You can see drain pipes coming up through the area at different places, for whether they're bathroom drain pipes or the kitchen sink drain pipes and all. And you may be able to see that there's countersunk holes, Fastener bits we use to countersink holes below each one of these posts so that we could put lag bolts going up through here. We use carriage bolts to attach the whalers to the vertical posts as well. And so I'm just making sure these things are all square and really tightening down all of the bolts here. Here I am notching out. So this is one of the floor boards. These are 4x6. So these sit on top of a on top of a 2x6 that sits on, that is attached, anchored to the concrete, and then the 4x6 sits on top of that 2x6 that's anchored there and is attached to there. And this is being notched out to accept the posts that are being put together. So here we are. This is going to be one of the panels that attaches. There's going to be another window going on over here, but each one, so we have lag bolts screwed into these units. Here's the 4x6, and there'll be a 2x6 that'll stand on down here at the base. You can see each one of these are notched out here. The windows are notched out for the 4x6s, and you can see the whaler over here. And we have some diagonals just holding everything in square. Here we are. Here's the 6x8 whaler that's notched into the 6x6 beam, Forstner bit, washers, compression, lock nuts being held, all these things being tightened right down. These will all be cut off eventually. Again, I spent probably a couple of weeks cutting and fitting all of these wall panels. So here's the garage to the left-hand side. You can see the radial arm saw is covered up out here. It's got one of the whalers that I've been notching here. My daughter here. I'm out there assembling units. So hi, Sabrina, if you ever get to see this. You can see more of those 6x6s and 4x6s. I take them out. So every few days I'd go on out and load it up from the stacked dried material in the barns and bring it out here. Now when I say dried, they aren't kiln dried. So over the years, there will be shrinkage artifact as a result of the house becoming more and more dried out as time goes on. So here we are. This is the northeastern eastern wall section and the most eastern northern wall. This is a 12-foot wall, the shortest walls we have, and the south walls are 16-foot tall. So you can see this is the whaler here at 8 feet. This is a 6x6 here at the top, 6x6 vertical posts. This ends up being a 3x6 because another 3x6 will be bolted to this one for the next panel that goes down. So just getting them all perfectly straight, and there are C-clamps holding these together at this point until I get everything perfect, because some of these will have to be jostled around a bit so that I can get them all attached. This is the area, so this is two 3x6s attached together. So this is the panel that I showed you before in the upper right hand corner. Then this is the central pattern on the north wall. So that's only a 4-foot section from here, 8-foot section down here. And you can see this is notched out, this whaler. This is for the being notched out for us to install the kitchen cabinets eventually. Here we are now. We're looking at, I'm at the south side of the house, and we're looking at the notching. You can see here we have a 6x6 here at the top. These are 6x6s going straight down here. These are 4x6s, the horizontal window supports. These are 6x6s on the inside of the window supports as well. And you can see each one of these are all notched out. Kind of complicated. And back here in the background you see the north wall. So we're looking through the south wall and can see the north wall as well. And you see where the whaler attaches down here. Here we are on the other side of the whaler. You can see the carriage bolts sticking out. These are all going to be cut out. Here there are the Forstner holes put in, smaller orifice drilled holes so that they just barely accept the carriage bolts going through and the washer, and then we can really compress those down very, very tightly. So here's Optimus Prime helping me out to do some of the stuff. My brother and my father-in-law, Ted, here. He's quite the comedian and quite the chatterbox. A good man. He passed away a few years ago, but he was a very important member of the family. Now what I'm doing here is I've gone ahead and I've taken one of the hay wagons, and I've got it down here in between the garage and the new house that's getting built. And so we got one more section that's got to go up here, and the way to do it is to lay these 6x6s. These are quite tall. Some of these are 23 foot tall, so these are quite tall posts and quite heavy. So we put them on an angle. I made some support so they weren't sitting right on the roof here. And we had them all notched out and all set together. And then what we wanted to do was hang the base off of the wagon so that we could attach the 4x6 to each one of the bases of these 6x6s here. And then attach a 6x6 whaler going right down here. And this is my father-in-law, Ted, pretending he's Jesus being nailed to the cross. He's quite the comedian. But we get the 4x6 attached to the base here. This is just a temporary 2x8 holding these in place to make sure everything's squared up and everything's in alignment. Then we got the base turned on here. We're getting the whaler all finished getting notched and ready to bring that over and attach it to these big notches here on the wall of the on the wall that's about to get erected. Then I'm up here in the bucket of Optimus Prime, trying to push the wall into this rather tight space. We purposely left the south wall here with some space between the two of these. We'd want it snug at the bottom, but not let that building go falling down and crush everything and hurt people on the inside. So it's a bit of a challenge. I'm pushing it up in here. We're getting pretty snug. And we've got some chains wrapped around it here, pulling it. Brother's got his hard hat on. Of course, I usually don't have my hard hat on. He's the smart one. And you can see these are the whalers here from each side. The whaler on this side here that's going to accept this whaler going up, they usually stick out proud an inch, but we have to make sure that is notched out correctly as well. And you can see that is. You can see now this whaler will fit right in there and it'll drop right down into there. Ted, my father-in-law here, orchestrating everything and posing for the camera. And again, the walls being supported with some sticks, just holding them up. Here you can see the eastern wall here. There will be some 6x12 beams that are going to run the main support bridges for the roof ultimately. Now we've got the 4x6s attached in here between these posts. So this is where these two windows will go here, and you can see I'm starting to work my way up with the 5/4 by 6 hemlock boards. Now the 5/4 is going to dry out to about 1 inch thickness ultimately. And here we are, we're looking at it from the north side. Only one window on the north face because this is a passive solar home. We want to have all the windows, the majority of windows facing the south, and a few windows to the east, and only a couple windows to the west because that's the side that the garage is on. So here's the garage here, stained dark ebony color. We've got the walls up, and there's no mudroom here yet. Now that's a mistake I made. I should have excavated out where the mudroom was going initially and laid blocks down here at the same time that we laid the blocks for the foundation of the house. If I were to do this over again, that's exactly the way I would do it. Here on the south face, going ahead and just starting to get some of the boards on the south face as well. And you can see some of the boards are up. This is where the French doors will be. Another set of French doors over here, windows on either side of the French doors, and windows up here and here in the bathrooms, both bathrooms here, upper and lower, and in the master bedroom above the French doors here. So gradually working my way up here, getting the walls up. Once I'm getting to about here with the getting hemlock boards on the surface here, two big things I want to make sure I'm doing is, one thing is getting the support beam. So this is a 6x12 beam. This is made up of 3 beams, 16 feet, 12 feet, and another 12 feet here. So we got a 40-foot run here, and so these things are very heavy, 6x12. So really important. This isn't so bad because this is the 12-foot height here. So this is the north wall. So as you can imagine, those rafters, I'm sorry, the rafters are going to go all the way up here, and this is the height. This is 23 foot tall to the top of these posts here. So this is 23 foot, 23 foot, 23 foot, and 23 foot. And on top of that 23 foot goes a 6x12 beam just like this. So there'll be a 16-footer to there, a 12-footer, and another 12-footer to here. Pretty dangerous getting these buggers up, but this is something I've been working on here, trying to get this done bit by bit, as well as starting to do some of the foundation. So it's difficult to see. So these are the beams where the with that the 24-footers where the these are the 24-foot, 23-foot posts that the 6x12 beam will go across here as well. There are steel plates. I think I've got a close-up of some of the steel plates. Here we are. So these are steel plates that cover almost the entire length of the 12 inches here. I think I kept it down 1 inch, so it's about 11 inches and going down about 13 inches on the posts. And these are all bolted straight through as well to really make this very secure. And here's an example of the corner coming together. So each one of these whalers had to be notched out on each side so that they could all interlock. And these are 6x6s and that are interlocked as well. Everything's being held together. This is a super strong building. And again, a close-up of some of the notching of some of the boards. This is where two panels came together. So you can see there's two 3x6s there, and this is a 6x6 on the other side. And you can see these are the areas where a lag bolt would go through and attach to the window support that's here. And you can see the 5/4 by 6 hemlock on the outside that's attached. Supports all the way around. You can see the chimney blocks down here on the floor in here, the radial arm saw there. So I have to be working as I'm doing this siding here and getting the beams up. Each day I need to be working on getting, not just putting the side panels up, but placing some of the blocks to build the chimneys up as well. So now here you can see these are 6x8 first floor supporting the second floor beams that go across, and then there's the floor joists that are 4x6s that go above this, and then 5/4 by 6 subfloor, and then there's a 1/2 inch OSB board that sits on top of that subfloor. So getting all of these support structures in, and this made it much easier to get. So we're standing in the living room right now. The staircase is to the right side of the screen. The bathroom's on the other side of the staircase. And so getting the second floor on the eastern part of the home up made it much easier, much less wobbly, getting those 6x12s up on top of those 23-foot tall posts that are just freestanding out in the air. These posts that I put up here that were in the middle of the house without anything supporting there, Thea can tell some nasty stories about the arguments we had. I just told her, go away. And somehow I got these posts standing up, 23-foot tall, out in the middle of the floor, and that was a real challenge. Now I'm on the second floor cutting the 6x12 beams that are going to go and attach to each other, supporting the roof rafters ultimately. Still working on the beams here. Here's what it looks like from the south side of the house. Now you can see French doors here, French doors there. The two small windows above each other are where the two bathrooms are. Large windows on either side of the French doors and above in the master bedroom as well. Here's the decking you can see for the second floor. The bathroom in here, part of the whole master bedroom in there, the hallway, and another room to the left side of the screen, and the staircase, the spiral staircase to the right over here in the foreground. And then you can see the concrete floor. We didn't do a great job pouring this floor. We broomed it and all. I certainly would have used a power screed. I didn't even know power screeds existed back then. We did everything hand screeding and then broomed it, and it wasn't a great job, but it did work. This is one of the support beams going down through the house. Same thing here. These are some of those really tall beams that were really difficult to get to stand up, like this one here. Really tall beams. Here we are looking at it from the east side of the property now. You can see the eastern windows, and you can see these windows here. Here's the big maple outside of the house. It's much larger now. It's been almost 4 decades since we built this house, and that's me up on the roof, I believe, up there, laying the hemlock down at this point. And there's scaffolding I built up out here, and we're taking some of these 20-foot 5/4 by 6 boards going up and getting those laid up above the top. I gotta say, I should stop right here. My brother Dave spent a couple of years coming out on his vacations and his days off to help me do this. In the very beginning, it was a lot of work he put in, helped me get the foundation, getting the walls standing up and all that. And certainly the most important thing, he's an engineer, and him designing and creating all this, determining what the specs would be for this passive solar home. And boy, did he do a good job, because this place has been so efficient over the years. So here we are with the 3 chimneys, a central chimney. This is a flue for the wood burning stove that's going to go here, and the other 2 chimneys on either side. Here I am working my way up. I'm up to the 2nd floor right now, and working my way up. Each time I just keep going up a few more feet each day, and then go back to working on getting the siding or the roofing on at the time. You could see the clay flue in the center of this chimney. So this chimney takes the hot exhaust material out from the wood burning stove and is going to go through the roof. All that heat, through the process of conduction and through radiation, is going to heat up these other 2 chimneys as well. And there's going to be a counter current. So the heat's going to rise in this chimney, and there's a fan down in the utility room that's going to draw the warm air from the peak of the roof down through each of these chimneys. So this is a counter current airflow convection system that takes hot air from the peak of the roof and from the wood burning stove, and conducts that hot air down into the thermal mass that's below the house, where we store all that energy and we circulate it all the time. So that's really important. One of the main features of the house is this 3 chimney system, the thermal mass unit, the southern orientation of the house, so that we get all that sun exposure, which makes photography a challenge. So here's the north wall here, this is where the closets sit along this area here. And so that's only 4 foot tall, but just a couple feet away, it's 8 feet tall. It's 7 or 8 feet tall. So a really narrow, about 4 feet away is the walk-in closets, and so it's amazing. You don't hit your head in there at all. You got plenty of head clearance, and it gives us this unique and nice steep pitch, so that we don't have to worry about the snow load in this snow country that we're in. Now, what I've done here is we're on the 2nd floor, and these are the rafters or the ceiling joists for the 3rd floor. So we're on the 2nd floor now, and these are for the 3rd floor right up here. So here we are. This is the 3rd floor here. I'm looking up from the 2nd floor. This is the northern roof, and I'm still getting the decking on up here. Here's the north roof here. Here's the chimney coming up through the 3rd floor now. I'm sorry, through the 2nd floor right now. We have a bit further to go to get through the 3rd floor. Here's the third floor floor joists. These are the western windows. The garage roof is right out there. And I use these barrels for sawhorses and to support the beams. Really, really good support. Stronger than horses. Here again is the 3rd floor joists going across here, and the decking will go on that for the subfloor, and then we'll have the finished floor on top of that. So this is where the water tanks go, the hot water heater is, all of those things, and it's a nice storage area as well. So we're standing in the master bedroom right now. These are the 6x12 beams that are sitting on the 6x6 posts. These are the 4x6 rafters, and these are 24 foot long, 25 foot long, I think. I think they're 25 foot. Here we are with the north wall here and the south wall here. The south wall is at a 45-degree angle so that it could have solar panels on it in the future. All the ones in the living room, the roof rafters that are in the living room and in the master bedroom, both have these cross ties going across. There are small cross ties that go across the top of each one of the ones that are in the third floor, but this gives us walking room comfortably all on the third floor by not having these cross ties in this area. Here I am putting on the boards for the base of the roof. Here you can see we're covering up the woody material. Snow is about to come. Looking out the window, here we are, ponds, the original barn, the arena that was put with the run-ins for the horses. Outside here, excavated around the outside of the foundation, again, we have a sealant that is a tar-like material that's up against the block wall, and then we have the plastic up against it as well. We have a drainage system that goes out to the pond as well, and then we have the gray water and black water pipes that come out of the house as well, going to the two septic systems, and then we have two fresh air intake pipes as well coming out through the foundation and going into the plenum. So it's really important when you have an airtight house. So this is completely sealed, this house, with multiple layers. So this is the plastic that's coming up from below the footer and going up from next to the footer and sealing the outside of the basement area here. And the next thing is using drywall. So this is 5/8 inch drywall that's been painted on the undersurface, which is the nicer surface. So it's painted brown. So as all of the eastern hemlock dries further throughout the years, there's going to be little gaps in between the 5/4 by 6 boards that are on the rafters and on the walls. A really rustic looking area, but we didn't want to have cracks going through and seeing the white color of the drywall. Now the 5/8 inch drywall is a fire stop, so if there ever was a fire, besides the sprinkler system that we've installed inside the house, we wanted to make sure that there was adequate fire stop. So on the outside of that 5/8 inch hemlock goes all of the 5/8 inch drywall that's been painted. So it's completely wrapped. And then 2 layers of 6 mil polyethylene plastic are sealed on top of it. And then we, during the winter months, to hold the plastic down, is working here in the winter, we're holding it down with some of the 1x4 hemlock boards to hold the plastic down tight to the drywall, so the drywall didn't get any wetter, so it didn't get wet, and so the moisture didn't increase on the hemlock boards as well. So you can see drywall going on top of the hemlock. You can see the hemlock here isn't finished here yet. And we got our RMAX, which is a polyisocyanurate. We're doing 2 staggered layers of 2-inch thick polyisocyanurate. This is foil-faced polyisocyanurate. So these go all the way down to the ground out here, and you can see this is the insulation. This is 1 layer here. There's actually 2 layers there, and all of the seams are staggered so that it creates a thermal, vapor, air barrier, and moisture barrier. So, and it goes right down to the footer, and the drain pipe goes on the outside of that, and then on the outside of the insulation goes an aluminum layer. You can't see it very well, but this is aluminum that's here to protect the insulation. The insulation could get damaged pretty easily by backfilling it. Here we have the gray water and black water septic lines coming out that'll go to 2 separate septic tanks, and there's also a 2 fresh air inlets as well right there. And so you can see we're working our way. We've got the drywall, the plastic, 2 layers of plastic, and then 2 layers of the polyisocyanurate that's foil faced, and then we've got the hemlock, another layer of hemlock. that is sealed up here, creating air spaces as well, which is another thermal barrier as well. So the heat can't transfer as easily through the air as when there's wood and other materials there. Sorry about that. So here we are working our areas down along the outside. Got the hemlock on the outer surface of it. You can see now this is all artifact from us storing these photos, unfortunately. You can see everything's looking pretty good. I think I have a picture of of everything bit by bit. So down here, this is all aluminum underneath this support beam. Here's the aluminum here over the top of the RMAX, the polyisocyanurate. So you can see that, and then this is supported, and then the area is backfilled to just below the level of the door opening here. And you can see the insulation going up. It's hard to see from this distance, but there's the inner one is up higher than the outer one, so the spacing is all gapped. Angles cut here, so we'll have full complete envelope, thermal envelope. So vapor barriers and insulation, really important to get all these layers here. And winter's coming on pretty strong here. And as soon as I get the sides done, we can lock it up for the winter time. So we're close here. So the sides have been covered up, and here are the black water and gray water septic systems here. And here we are. Now this is the following spring, so my brother's back to help me get the textured 111, our siding up. So we're going around getting the T111. I took all the T111 and stained it with 2 coats of the ebony stain before installing all of these boards. So we're going to put it all the way up, so 8 foot to here. There's going to be a flange that protects the top edge of this T111 from moisture, and then the next piece will go up here as well. Work our way all the way around the building bit by bit and gradually get this done. My brother and I out here, you can see there's the metal flange that helps to protect the lower T111, and cutting the material out here. And T111's all the way up on the sides, and it's getting close, getting set here to do the roofing. Get my pick up here with some of my support scaffolding that I made. And here we are putting our plywood on the roof. And here we are. I didn't get many pictures, it looks like. I got the roof on in this area. When we're putting the roof on, you can see some ropes over here. I've got them tied to the dozer down here, and the other one's tied to the tree here. So we're working on the other side, getting the roofing on. Here's an inside look where the 6x12 beam sits on top of the 6x6 posts, and it has the metal plates on either side to hold them together. And we have the south wall 45-degree angle here, and the north wall a lesser degree angle there. You can see because this is built from the inside out and there's no wall cavities, we use wire mold for, and this is the cable that we used to use for televisions and all back then, and certainly our electrical supply to all the locations. So we use wire mold for all of that. In the kitchen area here, made supports for the cabinets in that area, bathroom areas, security systems. And at this time, there's so many things we did back then that the inspectors didn't know much. So this was all on-demand hot water heating systems. So on the 3rd floor, we had water tanks that bring the temperature up to room temperature. So instead of using well water or groundwater, 50-degree temperature, we bring it up to 75 to 80 degrees on the 3rd floor. And then we take that preheated water, bring it down through a series of on-demand electrical hot water heating systems. This worked very well. We were pretty far off the road, but there would be some slight voltage fluctuations as a result of having these 3 systems in series. Another close-up picture, our Pella windows in there, the roof on, and you can see we got the ropes going to the other side of the house, getting the roofing up. Looking from the side of the garage, we can see looking from the west side of the property in the afternoon. Here's the roof. This is the southern face to the right of the screen, and the northern face to the left side of the screen. Only 2 windows above the garage roof to get the sunlight to warm the house during the winter months from the western sunset. Here we are before getting the mudroom up over here, the old dozer, and getting things ready. Here we are. We poured the concrete for the mudroom, and it's all insulated below this. But again, I would have, in hindsight, I would have poured a full foundation down in this area, but that's how things are. And pouring another pad here with access to the electric. Here's our garage and house with the pads. Here's getting ready for pouring the pad. House. Here's the house. We're getting close to the outside is completed at this point, and I'm starting to work on getting the mudroom up. And here's the original barn that we saw in the beginning. This is a pole barn again, and so isn't the one behind it. And a friend of mine that I met at work, Bob Capitulic, trained by an Italian master craftsman, a mason who did lots of beautiful work. He came and did this and worked with me, taught me how to do this. So this is all field stone and stones we corrected from our travels to create the chimneys. And again, these 2 outer chimneys take the heat that travels up to the peak of the house and takes the heat that radiates and conducts from the central chimney where the flue is for evacuating the noxious fumes from the wood-burning stove outside. We take all that heat up the thermal mass here. The wood stove actually is more efficient as well because it isn't on the outside wall. There isn't the condensation, the cool outside, and this additional stone all the way around helps to maintain the warmth, and therefore the fires burn hotter, and there's less creosote, there's more heat retained, and super efficient system. You can see here we are above the spiral staircase. I arched, and here's the access to be able to get to the second floor, so materials and furniture that we can't get up the spiral staircase can go up through this gated area to the living room. Here we are back in 1993 when Thea and I were going away to Cornell and spending 10 years there. We had a friend come over and do our vinyl siding on the buildings and all so that it would look a bit nicer, and we rented it out over the next 10 years. So this is what the property looked like in 1993. This is before any of the gardens were put into this area. All this vinyl siding is going to disappear in the next couple of years as I get the opportunity. You'll see that we did make changes. We've got a new slate roof on the buildings, and things have changed pretty significantly, but there's a lot more to change in the future. Our herb garden is in the front area here. And this is what it looks like, and here's our final slide. Looking at the horses here, this is before we were in the wildlife center, but you can see pond, we call pond 3 right now, I'm saying pond 4 right now, which was our first pond we ever put in. It was fenced off so that initially the horses couldn't get into the pond, and then so the wildlife couldn't get into the pond, and this was where the deer compound was as well later on. So I know there were lots of questions about the house and the construction and all, and I've done videos on the efficiency, but I wanted to dig through the old photos that we had in the barn, and they weren't in the greatest condition, but I thought I'd put this slideshow together for you. So if you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Remember, at the below in the description below, if you want to help us out, you can always purchase things on Amazon using the link below. That gives us a small little commission, doesn't cost you anything extra. And if you're in the market for a Tesla or a solar roof, use the link down below. It'll save you some savings. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and have a great day. Bye bye now.